So off the back of our biggest win yet, we're going into day 9 feeling positive and feeling good. This one, we can better that one, keep moving up. It's not going to be that long until we take down the tournament and we can move up levels. Let's get straight into it. So I haven't really had much to do for the first 15 minutes or so of this tournament. Not got anything I can get involved with until I get this hand, pocket sixes on the small blind. The action's folded all the way round to me, and when I'm in this blind v blind situation, to be honest, I'm never really sure what to do. Do I raise initially? Do I limp and then hope to raise him if he raises me? No idea. Now, the guy on my left has already been pretty active. I know it's early days, but because of that, I decide to just call and see what happens. So the big blind checks behind me, so we go heads up to a flop, which comes Jack 5-4 with 2 clubs. Now, with pocket sixes in my hand, seeing 2 undercards to my pair isn't terrible. My first thought when I see this flop is, right, this guy's active. This seems like a good situation to check raise. So I check to him, hoping that he's going to chuck some chips in. Unfortunately, he checks back, so we're off to see the turn. The turn's a fantastic card for me, the 6 of diamonds. It does mean that now there are 3 cards to the straight out there, but to be honest, I'm not particularly worried because with this guy being so active, I think he's betting any straight draws he might have had already. So I want to build the pot here and I make it 3/4 pot bet. I'm happy to see that he snap calls. The river's a safe queen of diamonds. I'm 100% convinced here that I've got the best hand. Now, how am I going to get the most money out of this guy? Check to him and let him bluff. I don't want to give him the chance to check behind though with maybe a pair of jacks or something. So I want to put some money in the pot and I go for a huge overbet, hoping that this guy just has a meltdown and gives me some money. Unfortunately though, no joy. Maybe he's on a flush draw or something because he folds, but I do win the first pot of the day and we're off and running. The very next hand I get dealt pocket 10s on the button. Action again folds all the way around to me, so I open the pot. Now the small blind folds, but the big blind makes the call. We're heads up to the flop and we see 6-5-2 all spades. Having an overpair is great, but a monotone flop's pretty scary. Big blind checks the action to me and I go for a fairly standard C bet, which he quickly calls. Now the turn is another card under my pair, 9 hearts. Good news. Does make the board a little bit more connected though, with some straight possibilities coming in, but again the big blind checks to me. So I feel that I really want to protect my hand here because I think I'm in front, but there's so many scary cards that could come out on the river. So I throw in an overbet. Not something I usually do, but the big blind throws his cards away and I'll take it. 2 hands played, 2 hands won. And so things start to go downhill pretty quickly after that. Next hand I get involved in, I look down at 7-6 of hearts in the big blind. The active player under the gun opens for a min raise and the cut-off player calls. Now with suited connectors like this, it's really a no-brainer for me and I call because I want to see the flop. And it's another monotone flop of all spades again. This time though, I've hit top 2 pairs on 7-6-3. It's not bad at all. I check to the initial raiser and he puts in a bet slightly over half pot. The cut-off folds and it's over to me. I think his bet size kind of rules out a flop flush because I think he'd want to bet smaller to make sure that he builds a pot and I come along with him. In my mind, the most likely hands he's got after playing it this way is probably an overpair or some sort of big spade. Now, this means right now I'm good with my 2 pair, so I'm going to check raise him. Looking back, I think I should have made it a bit bigger, but in real time I put in a 3x raise. Now he's a player that doesn't take any time with decisions and he snap calls. The turn is a horrible 4 of spades. Any of his hands with a big spade now get there, as well as any random 5s he might have. Not that I think there's many of them. I decide to slow down and I check it to him and happily he checks back. So I do get to see a free river. It's the jack of diamonds and I don't think that changes anything at all. I check, hoping, praying that he's going to check back, but I don't get it. Instead, under the gun player decides to put in a bet of 1 big blind. 1 big blind into a 30 big blind pot. Never raising here, but for 1 big blind it feels basically like he's checked. So I'm going to call with my 2 pair. I do get the bad news. So it turns out my predictions were both right. He had the overpair and he had a fairly big spade. So really, it feels like I've lost the minimum here. Now, I do play a couple of other hands, Jack 10 suited and a raggy ace, and I lose a couple of small pots, but nothing over exciting. Then we finally get the chance to play a biggie. The low jack opens for a min raise and the cut-off calls. I'm on the button with ace king offsuit, and it's a no-brainer to me, I've got to raise it. I think I need to do some work on my bet sizing though, because in real time I make this nearly 5x. So perhaps it's supposed to be a bit smaller, but it is what it is. Now, without missing a beat, my old mucker in the small blind, cold 4 bets all in. He's got us covered, and to be honest, I'm not sad to see it. I think he's been playing really loose, so I'm happy to get my chips in against him with ace king. It's even more of a sure thing when the initial raiser folds, quickly followed by the dead money in the cutoff. I call, and the cards are flipped, and I'm up against ace 10 of hearts. I've got him dominated. The flop comes queen jack 7. I'm still in front, but essentially we've swapped out. He needs my king, I need his 10. The turn is a safe 7, pairing the board. It does create some chop outs, but I'm very happy to see it. The river couldn't be worse. This crazy player on my left hits his 3 outer with the king of clubs, and that's my first bullet gone. Why does it always feel like the wild players are rewarded? Well, no point bitching and moaning, just going to get straight into bullet 2. Now nothing happens on bullet 2 for about 20 minutes until we get the magical sailboats. We're under the gun +1 and we look down at pocket 4s. So over the last few days I've developed an unhealthy relationship with pocket 4s, thanks in no small part to my mate Sailboat Feeney. I've seen them win some monster pots, and I've also had them when they could have won monster pots if I'd just seen the flop. Anyway, when under the gun limps, I want to come along, so I limp behind. Now, even though I've moved to a new table now, it looks like I'm still sat to the right of another madman, because this guy shoves all in for 27 bigs. Action folds to the small blind, who takes a minute to make his decision. While this is happening though, basically I'm there talking myself into a call with these magical 4s. They can't lose, right? The blinds end up folding, and the under the gun player surprisingly shoves all in too. I'm sticking with it though, and I call with my hands using the terrible logic that I'm due a good one. The cards are flipped, and I'm pretty shocked to see what I see. Now, the aggressor on my left shows 8-6 off, and the under the gun guy that limp called shows everybody's favourite hand to play in early position, 10-8 off. Yet, you heard me right, I'm up against 8-6 off and 10-8 off. I'm really not sure how any of us have got here with these cards, but well, here we go, let's run it. The flop comes king 7-6, so ace-6 shoots into the lead. 10-8 has got a gut shot, and I need, a miracle. The turn is the 2 of spades, so I'm reduced to needing one of the remaining 4s in the deck. And the river, 9 of hearts. It completes the under the gun limper's straight, and he wins the main pot with the side pot going to ace-6. What just happened? Now, I know my participation in this hand is a little questionable, but out of the 3 of us playing this horrendous poker, I think mine made the most sense. Maybe it's the best of a bad bunch. Either way, that's bullet 2 done. So we're on to the third and final bullet for the day. Day 9 is turning out to be a really painful one. So I'm onto a different table again, and about 5 minutes later I get dealt a hand to get involved with. Now under the gun +1 limps, the hijack limps, and the button follows suit. It's on to me in the big blind, and I've got ace king off again. I've got 35 bigs and I want to raise it up. Now, an all-in feels way too big here, so I make it 7x. The first limper in under the gun +1 quickly calls, and the other 2 players throw their hands away. Not really sure what to expect from a limp caller in early position, especially after some of the hands I've already seen today. So while I'm trying to fight the tilt that is raging through my body, I have no idea where I am when the flop comes 10-7-4 with 2 spades. I've got 2 overs and a backdoor draw, but know the flop doesn't hit my range when I've raised pre-flop, so I check it over to him. Of all the things I might have thought this player would do, betting pot isn't one of them, but that's exactly what he does. I'm really not in a good place after the way things have gone so far, and I've totally thrown out the window my tight is right strategy that I've actually been doing okay with over the last couple of days. For reasons that I can't explain to you apart from the fact that I'm on tilt. I make another crazy decision and shove all in for just an extra 10 bigs. He snap calls, of course he does. He'd have to do that with pretty much everything, given the amount of money in the middle, and we flip the cards over. He turns over 7-6 of hearts for second pair, so at least I've got outs that don't come. He holds, and that's my final bullet done and dusted. Well, that was short and sweet. Well, it was short, not particularly sweet. Absolute disaster today. I totally threw out the window all of the play it tight, keep steady, all of that sort of stuff. And I've blown 3 bullets in not much time at all. Absolute disaster. Day 9, never want to talk about it again. Don't bring it up. Let's just move on. Day 10, can't be worse than that.